Good morning, everybody. I like to walk around a little bit. I don't like being stuck in one place. First of all, thanks very much for getting up early on this very cold morning to come down and see what we have to say. I think this is the second one that we've done in 2 years. We started off with our first one last year. This is our second, and hopefully we can finish with a third one next year. So what I want to do today is to talk to you about our quantum technology. We believe it's an appropriate name because what we hopefully will achieve today is you walk out of this room going, I think actually I've just witnessed a quantum leap in technology, and hence why we named it the way we did. So is the worst slide for me to work on. I actually had this with me last year because it's very difficult to try and explain in 3 easy, short sentences actually what the quantum technology is all about. The first thing to actually say, it is a perfusion management system. You could define it more crudely by saying it's probably a heart-lung machine system or it's an ECMO system. But actually, we believe that what we're trying to provide you with is a perfusion management system that's really focused on patient and clinician safety. And if some of you were here last year, you know why I really bring in the clinician bit, because at the end of the day, you've got to be safe too, not just the patient. And so what we've tried to do at every turn in this development is to ensure your safety as much as the patient's. The other thing as well, it's a unique combination of hardware and software. And we took the view that every turn, every product that we developed for this whole platform, what was out there wasn't good enough. We really did try and improve everything at the incremental level of the system. And the other thing as well is to recognize, and I think most of you do, but surprisingly I meet some people who don't, that you are truly providing life support. What I mean by that is that anesthesiologists provide life support, and they have amazing equipment. Perfusion provide life support and actually have an array of equipment that ranges in ages and capabilities. And yet, you are truly providing life support. You are responsible for that life support. Even though sometimes administrations will claim that you're fully under supervision, you and I know that when that surgeon's got his back to you, it's you that's actually taking full care of this patient. So what we wanted to do was to provide you with technology that's at least as comparable to what's at the head of the table. And I think we've done that, and hopefully you'll see that today. So the quantum journey actually starts with the Workstation. And it's a very unique system. There's a lot of capability in this system. And what I'm going to do is to show you a short animation that actually allows you to see the capability that's built within this one single product. It's a 15-inch portrait system. It's touch-based, and it's high resolution, high definition. So what I need to say now is, and what's happened is that I was going to provide you with this animation. I was going to be able to stop you with this, stop at various points through this animation. But the comms between me and control doesn't allow me to stop. So basically, I have to play the animation, and if I need to stop, because I think there's something there, I can stop, but it ends up playing again from the beginning. So as I've got you for an hour, you're just going to have to put up with a bit of a stop and a start, and hopefully I'll keep that to a minimum. So we're going to move on to the first part of the animation. And what's important is for you to see the capabilities that's built into one system. Because as I said, what we've tried to do is to integrate as many technologies into the one platform as possible. So we have we have data management, we have third-party device connectivity, we have our primary pump and secondary control systems there. And we also, as you saw right at the beginning, we have our saturation monitoring, our non-invasive saturation monitoring. So in that one unit, there are 4 subsystems running. Not one, it's not a pump control system, there are 4. You'll see that there are connections there to third-party devices, and I'll come back to that as to why that's important. Connecting our saturation systems. This is one of our apps, one of our vital apps. And I'm going to come back to you a little bit later about what is the app structure within the system. There's our data management. That's our Generation 3 data management, Viper data management system. That's our pump manager app. And as you can see, the delivery of everything you need to manage your patient, from delivery of cardioplegia to weaning, to taking the system into accumulation mode, everything is in that one screen. Anyway, I think that's it. So the thing I need to say to you is, you're hearing me a lot talking about apps. Well, whether we like it or not, we are now in the 21st century, and as most of you probably got all your phones are sitting there with apps running on it. And that's exactly what we've done with our platform. We've designed nothing but quantities of apps that actually allow you to pick and choose the way you want to run your patient. So I talked to you about the apps, the pump control app, the Viper data management app, the Vitals app. These are all ways that which you can actually present information to you. Oops, I went, oh, hang on. Right, I just wanted to pick this part of the system out for you, because I mentioned just now that we're using third-party, we're connecting to third-party devices like your patient monitor, your cerebral device, even a blood gas device if one is attached to your heart-lung machine. The reason why it's important is this bar that sits at the top, this gauge bar that sits at the top, actually allows you to scan every piece of patient data that you feel is absolutely critical to managing your patient during care. It's a bit like when I said it last year, it's a little bit like when you fly your helicopter. You can't take your eyes off straight and level flight, because if you do, you lose straight and level flight. So you've got a second to scan. Whether you scan left to right or right to left is entirely up to you. But the most important thing is that there is totally configurable to what you believe is important for you running your case. So as you can see, we're bringing in the blood pressures, we're bringing in the cerebral values. You do not need a slave screen, that archaic slave screen that you have bolted to your existing machines today. Some of you do, because all the information you want is in one place. And that's why when you look at the Workstation and take on the fact that it has data management, it has pump management, it has device connectivity to third-party devices, as well as the saturation monitoring system. You see you've got 4 systems in one. The interesting thing is, for us, when we were developing the product, we debated for months whether or not we should have even included the saturation monitoring system into the Workstation itself. Because we know some people would use other saturation systems, and it could be redundant. Well, if it is, it is. You just don't use it. Just don't have the sensor. Don't plug the sensor in. If it doesn't recognize the sensor, the system doesn't come active. But the view we took, considering that we're looking at a global user group, was the fact that basically anybody in the world, the very minimum they've got to do, the very minimum is they should be monitoring their saturations and potentially their crits as well. That is the absolute minimum. It doesn't matter whether you were pumping a case in Indonesia. You would expect that to happen. So that's why we built those 4 systems into one. I just put this little slide up. I don't even know if it's the right slide, but as you can see, it gives you an idea. I named it like working with quantum, and I think you can see the gauge bar, which I've just showed you, is at the top of the screen. You never leave it. It's never lost. It doesn't matter what you're running, what system you pull out, the gauge bar still gives you complete access to the critical data that you need to manage your patient. And this is just one of the apps. This happens to be the priming app, just one of them in our data management. And as you can see, the way the system is structured, at the very bottom in yellow is our primary management systems. These are the things that allow you to navigate around at a system level. And then the second one above, the one immediately above the yellow buttons, are basically any of the functions that relate to that. So you have instantaneous navigation, basically, around the system. So that just gives you an idea how the structure tends to work. And actually, when you start playing with the system, I would say you're running a case in 15 minutes, 10 minutes. It's that easy to take on board. So, okay, then another key part of the system, which I did discuss last year, and I'm going to play a slightly different animation as to what I did last year, because last year, thankfully, being here, I asked a few people, what do they actually think about the configuration of the product? And one or two people came back and said, you know what, you've only got one flow. Why haven't you got three? On your current M3 product, you have three. So we sort of went back and said, freeze what we're doing. We just better listen to what's been said, and we need to start adding extra sensing channels. So what you're going to see here is a system that has multiple capabilities again, just like the Workstation. Basically, as I said earlier on, Spectrum is all about integrating technologies and miniaturizing these technologies into a package that actually allows you to run with it very, very easily in the field. So basically, we have the structure basically is we have up to 3 gases. Now, obviously for adults, you probably don't need the third gas option. That's why it's an option. The CO2 gas is an option. And we have 2 vacs. The first vac is the vac that actually controls the WAG exhaust. The second one is that allows you to precision manage vacuum assist. So that's what we have here in this system. And because I can't stop this animation halfway through, I just want to give you an idea to know what you're going to be facing as you go through the animation itself. First of all, it's not a blending system. It blends gases, by the way, but it's not a blending system. So, yeah, okay, it does blend. It's an electronic vacuum management system. It's a ventilation system. It produces your diagnostics. It produces a wide range of diagnostics, PO2, PCO2s, all that sort of stuff. It is also an independent monitoring system to monitor the management of patient ventilation. The reason we call it a ventilation system is the fact that, as you'll see, you can set the gases to blend, but also at the same time, you can go at it from the other way. You can turn around and say, I want to maintain a PO2 value of this, and I want to maintain a PCO2 value of 40 or 45. The system will manage it for you. It's not rocket science to manage it. As an example, PCO2 is just really current. It's just current VCO2 divided by what is your target. If your FeO2, and of course FeO2 is derived from PCO2 divided by your atmospheric pressure. So it's not difficult, but someone's never done it for you before. Can you imagine an anesthesiologist running his case without the ability to ventilate automatically? So we've given you that capability. You don't have to use it, of course. You can just say, all I want to do is give my FiO2s of 60. I want my sweep rate of 3 liters, and the system would do as you've told it. The system also has a little calculator that basically says, well, if you want a PO2 of 200 and a PCO2 of 45, these are the values that you need to achieve it. And you could go, yep, I'm very happy with that, and let it go. Of course, as you change blood flow and temperature and the AV difference changes, you would have to go back and reset those values. Hence why the system has this third level that allows you to ventilate and basically say, I actually want to hold those because I'm doing other things. I don't want to keep worrying about my sweep and my FiO2 setting. So I'm saying this all now because I can't stop the animation, so I really want you to see what's coming. So here we go. Starting automatically. Read all the functions underneath. They're all changing. Not important maybe here, but in Europe we need to have an anesthesia gas measurement option. So hence why that's there. 3 blood flows, 3 temperatures, 3 pressure ports, and a level. All built in, all underneath. If you come on the booth today, you'll see this is a tiny unit we're talking. One system that can go from 0.05 to 10 liters. So the patient ventilator, the blending button's flashing just to let you know no gases have been set. Let's get on with it. Let's set the gases before we go on bypass. We can start our diagnostics. And then we're going to do the usual synchronization with the first blood gas. There we are. All the parameters that's necessary to really manage PO2, PCO2. And then you extend into the ventilation screen. And now you're regulating. It's that easy. You're regulating what your PO2 and PCO2s will be throughout the case. So there. Let's move on. I'm going to do a little summary because I think there's a lot going on in that system. And I think in a way it will tell you just how much thought the Spectrum team is putting into really delivering something that makes your task hopefully safer for both you and the patient. First of all, we're continuously monitoring everything that's supposed to be supplied to your system. You know, the last thing you want, you don't want to wait for your arterial saturation to fall before you start to question, have I got O2 being delivered? No. We're monitoring everything, O2, CO2, concentration supplies coming in, air supply coming in, and also the vacuum pressure coming in to the system. That's got your back, that's covering that. You know that you're being looked after on that side. The other thing we do as well is we're monitoring all the pressures we're applying to the circuit. So if we're using VAVD, we know the exact pressure that's being applied to that circuit. What is the maximum pressure setting? Whatever you set is the maximum pressure setting. It will monitor to that. Waste anesthesia gas is subtly different. It's not a vacuum. It is a vacuum, but it's not pressure regulated, it's flow regulated. So what we do, because we're really passionate about VCO2, we certainly believe VCO2 is a precursor to any changes in pH as a consequence of metabolic activity. We want to make sure that we capture every piece of CO2 that comes out of that exit port. And so what we do is we run slightly more flow on the exhaust side than what goes in on the suite. I think it's about 20%. So if you've got 2 liters of suite, we actually regulate out 2.4. That way, because the CO2 molecule is slightly heavier than air, obviously if you're running very low sweeps, it's dropping out of your secondary exit ports from your oxygenator. This way we capture it all. And so for the first time, you're going to be able to have a system that's going to say to you, look, I know my arterial PCO2 is flatlining because I'm controlling it, but boy, I can see all the changes in my VCO2. Whether I'm rewarming or I've got metabolic activity, it's a precursor to some event that you need to be investigating. So from our point of view, it's a very different system. It's not pressure, just remember it's flow and why. The other thing as well is we measure the mixed gas delivery pressure to the oxygenator. You want to know if that oxygenator, if that kinks, you want to know. You want to know your line is interrupted. It's not flowing to the oxygenator. You want to know that if that pressure of if that gas delivery line is exactly the same as what's atmospheric, it's actually delivering to atmosphere and not to the oxygenator. So again, I know where we've had issues, not we, but where the industry's had issues where some accidents, some events have occurred whereby that line's been blocked or come off the oxygenator. So we measure that just to increase the safety. The other thing as well is obviously we're monitoring all the O2, CO2 concentrations to the oxygenator, obviously the sweet gases to the oxygenator. And by the way, we're also monitoring the O2 and CO2 at the exit port as well. I mean, big debate, do we put in O2 on the exit port? We did because in the end, if your O2 on your exit port is the same as O2 on your inlet port, your oxygenator's not working. So again, it's starting. It could be a fantastic way of indicating oxygenator performance, say on an ECMO case. Instead of having to worry about pre- and post-membrane pressures, you could actually just worry about what's really happening in terms of O2 delivery and extraction. And the other thing as well that we can measure is the anesthesia gas concentrations to the patient. I know most people just set the vaporizer and leave it, but the reason we added it was because we know that sometimes these vaporizers run out. So again, an extra bit of safety. So these are just as well some of the ventilation diagnostics that come out of that system, as well as some of these calculated measurements, which some of you have seen before. They're on the website. I did show them last year. So what I want to do is time out here at the moment and just make sure you understand everything that's in those two systems together. There's an awful lot. If you come to the booth, you're going to see that it's just dead easy, that they're all integrated in such a seamless way you don't actually know there is 10 subsystems running. The reason it's important for you to know this is when I show you the next set of slides, sequences, you're going to look at a technology that actually looks like it's minimalist. There's nothing there. You're going to see something that's completely different. And it's because what we have actually put into this system, into these two systems here, we've mopped up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 subsystems. Gone are the days you needing little modules for pressures and flows and all that. That's all built in. You don't need O2 monitoring, independent monitoring, because the vacuum system has a completely integrated, independent monitoring system. And just to let you know, the strategy in our head and the thinking that we've done is that the precision we built into the blending system is, I wouldn't like to say, it's percent. My engineers go a bit crazy. They get upset if they think we're out by 1%. You and I know it doesn't make a blind bit of difference for what we're actually doing. But the way we do this is we don't know which is more accurate, the monitoring system or the actual physical blending system. So the strategy we have is if they read differently by 10% or 20%, whatever we set it, something's wrong. And that is a very honest approach. We don't know which is more accurate, but what we're saying is they should never be that far apart. So that is our indication to the performance of our system. So what I want to do now, I'm going to take you in to what is our perfusion management system, the integration of it, or the platform. Oops. Oh, sorry. Let's go back. I'm going to do this. Let's just go back. I got a bit carried away there. My wife dared me to put this photo in, and she knows she should never dare me to do it, so the photograph went in. I think it just shows is that we get a bit crazy about what we do at Spectrum with our stuff. It's a passion, and we love it. So anyway, I'm going to start this. Well, this animation starts on itself, and I'm going to play this one twice. Because everything, as I said to you right at the beginning, everything we've done is to try and make it different. That is a perfusion management system. That's everything. You're so used to something this big that you hurt your back moving around. And there you are. We have 2 centrifugal pump drives built into it. We have 2 power outlets built into it. It's got 4 hours of battery, stainless steel structure, 5 wheels there built for stability. You'll see it. And you'll see something completely different. Because we don't design the frames, you do. You all have different tubing packs, so why shouldn't you have different frames? As you can see, direct drive motors, 4, 6, and 8 inch. Who does a 6 inch? Why do you want the extra huge pumps for suckers and things like that? You don't. They're too heavy to move. They're too heavy. Look at that. In the time that I'm talked, you've just changed your pump. There you are. You've just changed it. Bang. Done. Here we're looking at our tubing clamp system. That happens to be the double for your 4:1 ratio one. But basically, Those little clamping bobbins, as we call them there, you never change them. You don't have to have blocks, plastic blocks, and rebuild and change. They never leave the pump. You're looking at, so that's everything you need to run a pump. The only thing that's not missing, the only thing that's not on there, because we didn't put it into it, is the clamp, an arterial clamp or a venous clamp. There's two designs. Look at them. They're completely different. Absolutely different. From our point of view, see what Spectrum does is we design fantastic pumps, ventilation systems, workstations, power packs, but we don't know how to design the perfect perfusion system for you. That on the left there is for a hospital in Blackpool. This is their final design for them. The one on the left, by the way, was the one that we had all the selfies being taken with at EACS. The one on the right is designed by a group of guys in Cheltenham and is smaller than a Sprinter car. So what I'm saying to you guys is, it is your design. You tell us how you want to create the spatial relationship of those pumps with your frame. We have a customer, potential customer, that wants 18 frames and 12 pump sets. And the thing that he's asked us to do is we've got to make a large rack to bolt onto his wall because he wants all the pumps on the wall. He actually wants to take a frame that's appropriate for his case, his surgeon, and build right there and there just before the case. That's the flexibility. We're not telling you how to build these frames. We don't know. I mean, I keep challenging people, and the thing that's amazing about it, to be honest with you, is everything is different. We got another frame we're working on, completely different again, but we can't argue with it. It's funny, when I was at a show in Amsterdam last year, somebody comes and says, I don't like that frame, and I actually was a little bit blunt and said, well, it's none of your business, it's not yours. You go away and design your own, if you can. It's easy to criticize somebody else's design, but you go and design your own. That actually fits a group in a hospital that's doing nearly 2,000 cases a year, the one on the left. So what I want to do again, I'm going to go back and I'm going to replay this one, so have patience with me on this, because I think the second time around, you will start to see, pick up the intricacies a little bit better. Look how small the power pack is. We've got our AC outlet. We've got 2 vendor-neutral centrifugal dry systems. And that's the Cheltenham configuration. And as you see, you can go to something completely different. It's fantastic to see people's ideas. You'll see the clamping system, the way that is a universal clamping system that works for all products. And in the time that you're watching this, you've changed your pump. Well, click, you're in, you're off. No more blocks, no more little red things or green things or whatever you have to do to find. None of that. All gone. I hope you realize that where you put your pumps, how you build your pumps, is entirely up to you. Spectrum doesn't care. Those pumps, you could be, I'm not saying men do this, of course, but you could be wearing 4-inch heels, weigh 100 pounds, and you'll move those pumps around with your fingers. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to be moving something that, once it gets up a head of steam, you can't turn it. So again, for us, strength, lightness, critical in the design concept of how we produce this system. The other thing I wanted to do is just to let you know, we decided we've got to take this further. Because as you know, Spectrum specializes in basically hardware and software. EMR systems for anesthesia, ICU, Spectrum does that from one side. And we're into hardware technology. We're not into consumables. We want to be neutral and friends with everybody that makes consumables. We have no position to make an impact on that whatsoever. But we do want to define service as our space. So some of you customers are already have experienced the service on the left-hand side, our Sentinel service program, where obviously with Quantum, it's a complex system, it needs its annual servicing, it has full warranty, and also has accidental damage. Okay? Basically, the product's looked after for life. The other thing that we will offer with Quantum is the Vigilant System. And the Vigilant System is available when customers are using our data management technology. Because basically it means that we're in constant contact with the machines, with the technology that's in use. If you're using Viper Vision and technologies, which some of you are, we'll know before you if something's not right. If we're not happy with one of the products, one of the pumps is, oh, God forbid it runs hot. We'll know before you. So that is something we can do because we're very much integrated into the hospital system. And with that, we will leave what we call Quantum Instant Access. Basically, that allows us to leave one of everything that you have being used on site. So if you use a 4-inch, 6-inch, a ventilation system, there's one of them there, always. Because we know when you're going to use it. So many people worry about if we leave you stock there, we don't know when you're going to use it. But because obviously every one of our products has an individual MAC address, we know instantly the minute you pick it up and it goes live on the network. And then we can be on to you the following morning or that day. Why are you using it? What's gone wrong? Let's swap it out. So we just wanted to make sure you could see the level of service that comes along with a company that's very, very focused on hardware. So I'm going to finish now with just a little update for people that know us for our data management as well. That's the new Quantum platform there with its data management. You can run with your tablets as well. So again, we're responding with the tablets because obviously we need mobility in our pre-op nursing, intra-op nursing, we need all that. But also though, for a lot of guys that are monitoring ECMO, want mobility, guys that are probably going off to do a cell saver, but they don't want to take a Viper Workstation because they're just doing a quick cell saver case. Again, that gives you the mobility to do that. And as always, just to let you know that we are the only system out there that fully integrates with a hospital network. So bringing ADT down, all the admission, discharge data, the HL7 transfer back, labs, that sort of stuff. And again, and we've got customers here that are using this product, our Live View Center, where it just allows you to actually keep a track on every single patient that you have running under your care. The interesting thing is, the Quantum system allows you to actually watch every other case. You can be at your workstation, and if you've got some new students with you and they're pumping their first cases or on their own, it may not hurt just to have a little bit of oversight if you're pumping your own case as well. So you have that. Again, just to let you know, the minute that you've got this surveillance where you're watching every single patient, the minute that something starts to get your interest or you've got an alarm flashing or you've got a request for help that comes through, you can start to drill down into lots of other apps that allows you to look at critical information regarding that patient. Brilliant for people who are on call. We have lots and lots of customers who use it for that. So that's it, guys. Thank you very much. I obviously can take questions, and hopefully we'll get to see you on our booth. But thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
All right.
I actually do have a question. When you're working with a new customer, and you said that all the base for the pump is completely customizable. But are you able to provide templates if customers are interested?
Yes, if you actually go to the website now, as an example, what we've started to do, the website has all these animations, but what we've started to do is put mini clips. Because you're absolutely right. We're going to build up a library of configurations. Not long, not 2-minute things, but 30-second clips that allows you to look at customer configurations. I can't wait to say, just pick a hospital. I can't wait to say, Jeff's here, Mr. Riley, the Mayo, or something like that, because we're naming all our frames after the hospital that designed it. And then it's available for everybody else. And they're going to be on the website, and you better click on it and play with it, look at it, and as you say, take ideas and go off and express your own.
Thank you. Hello, Jeff.
Mr. Riley from Mayo Clinic.
Hello, Jeff.
Hi. Brilliant presentation, and thank you for being here 2 out of 3 years, and look forward to next year. In the United States, we are forcing standardization. Are you concerned that perfusionists will misuse your product? And do you think your company is at risk because we might not use it in a standard fashion?
No, I don't think so, because I think one of the things I could have gone on and talked to you for hours about is our total commitment to outcomes-based medicine and best practice. The technologies that we have within our system allow you to deploy what is your best practice. And I agree with you. I totally agree. I think there should be more standardization. It is amazing how individual it really is. Per institution, per individual within the institution. So no, within our technology, we have a whole strategy around how you conduct checklist. Are they mandatory? Are they advisable? Must they be completed before you start a case? Must they be completed before the case ends? We have best practices. Best practices basically say that across a given range of key parameters, we want to set these limits that we want to work within, these best practice guidelines. And we even allow you to set guidelines based on an upper limit, lower limit, a sustain limit, because don't forget, you may have a lower limit, say venous saturation at 75, but sustaining it at 76 for 60 seconds still isn't acceptable. So we have sustain limits, and we also have rate of change. So again, if you have a limit that's X to Y, but it's changing quickly, too quickly, then yes, something's wrong there. So, and the other thing as well is we have the ability to monitor and create what we call the actual best practice index for your institution, for your practice, for your procedures, that actually allow you to look at how often you can stay within your targets. Because that's all it's about, is you setting your targets, and obviously you'd like to think they converge across the industry. And the other app that we're just adding, and we're totally excited about, is what we call our Complications app. Complications is a response app, basically, and it can be triggered 2 ways. You can trigger it manually to say, I have this complication, this potential complication, and it will take you to an app that has a constructed checklist that you have devised. That basically can say, right, if this has happened, you need to do this. If this doesn't happen within that period of time, something else. The other way that you can construct the complication is it gets triggered automatically for you. A classic one I use is respiratory rates gone high, temperatures high, pulse rates high. You've just had a blood gas result come in, your white cell count's down, sepsis alert. So you can actually build complications to allow you to respond from it from an observational point of view. You've seen something that you're not happy with, or multiple parameters are coming in that trigger it for you. So yeah, we totally believe in standard. I mean, the way I look at it is, and I know this is, I come from the aerospace industry, and you get bored of me telling you that, but my view is I can't understand why procedures are so different, so different by institution, by surgeon. They are different. You wouldn't want to get on a plane if you knew the pilot flew that plane differently to the next guy that sat by him and the one that's just taken off before. The only time you need that piece of brilliance is when the guy radios the tower and says, I'm landing this sucker in the Hudson. That's when you need the genius. To the rest of the time, we should be flying this in a standardized way. So Jeff, I think we're ahead of the curve. I think we're looking forward. We have it in some of our customers who are really pushing standardization and monitoring themselves. But sadly, not a lot of people are, even though they have access to the tools to do it. Hope I answered your question. All right. Nothing else? Very quiet today. Must be too early and it's cold outside. But thank you very much.